Hey, welcome back to another episode of the $1,000,000 Body podcast, the intersection of physical and financial success. I'm Nate Palmer, here today with Joe Oubre. And if you're here, you're probably a high performer, a entrepreneur, a dad who's a business owner, and they're interested in gaining an unfair advantage in life using fitness and nutrition as force multipliers. If you're not already part of the Facebook group, definitely go to n8trainingsystems.com/group. We stream these episodes live every Wednesday. You can join in, ask questions. Right now, I'm doing a promotion where I'm giving away free copies of my book, The $1,000,000 Body Method. So jump on in. What are you waiting for? Or don't, whatever you want to do. Live your life. Just a ton of cool stuff happening in the group. Massive amount of free content and resources. Again, go to n8trainingsystems.com/group to join us there. Joe, I want to give you a massive shout out. Normally I do like a shout out to people who have accomplished big things in the community. You're here, so I'm going to give you that shout out today. You've absolutely smashed it with some of your fitness goals. And I think that I want to give you credit, not just because you've gotten great results. There's a lot of people who have gotten great results, but you were getting in shape for a specific event for a specific reason, because you were competing at the jiu-jitsu worlds. And you weren't able to go. You got sick. There's some issue on the second one, but you didn't stop. You didn't give up. You didn't backslide. And I got to say, I really, really appreciate that, because I think a lot of times we work with women who are getting married, whatever, and they're amazing clients right up to the wedding. Right. And then out of that, it falls off. You didn't. You stayed right in it. So thank you so much for being here. You're absolutely killing it. Can you start us off? Just give me a little introduction. Who are you? Where are you from? And kind of tell us a little bit about your transformation recently.
Thanks, man. Originally from Alabama by way of Nashville, Tennessee. I actually went to college there and played a little football, had an amazing university experience, and then met my wife there too. And then I was in the books probably 6 years getting my master's degree and finished that. And I think my mom sorry about that. And I think everybody else probably thought that genuinely I was full of shit. So I decided to go into real estate, right? Because that's naturally what everybody does after that. Honestly, I wanted to do nonprofit work, but I figured out pretty early that you didn't make any money doing that stuff either, right? So I decided to go into real estate, and then have loved it ever since. I've been a lifer. So
awesome. So between being a lifer in real estate, being a dad to a 2-year-old daughter, right? She's 2 now, Ella?
Yeah. So, people do that weird month thing until they're but she's 2. I think probably, in my opinion, she's been 2 for the last 6 months or whatever. So yeah, no, that's been probably the most gratifying and life-changing experience for me. I mean, so far. So yeah, I absolutely love my little daughter, Ella. Yeah.
I like to tell people they're like, how old are you? I'm like, oh, I'm in my 102nd trimester right now.
Yeah. People are, every time when I know you're experiencing that too, right? Because you've got a younger one too.
Yeah. I got a 9-month-old and a 3.5-year-old. So I know how it gets. It's dark sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's probably where our journey, you and I started off. I was going to bed at night, and I don't know if anybody else experienced this, but I started getting night terrors just out of the blue. Fairly confident person in my life. Most of the time, stuff has worked out for me. I haven't had anything too terrible ever happen, but just started having tremendous night terrors, struggle sleeping, that type of thing. Thinking about the out of thoughts of the universe and the future and all those different things. I think your mindset just completely changes, and you become such more of an empath when you have children, right?
Totally agree.
So I realized too that I was fat and just not super happy with the results that what I was eating, everything I was doing. I'm a one person that I think the way if you show up in one thing, you show up in everything, right? I know you've probably figured a lot of that out about me too. So that being said, I was just having those crazy night terrors, and I was like, I've got to find some way to solve this, or to make myself feel a little bit more confident and comfortable about the future, even if, because it goes 2 ways for people. And I think it looks like this: you either are a faithful person, you believe in God and the cosmos and everything is going to work out, and you also, even if you're that person, have this switch that goes on in your life when you have a little bit of higher thinking, that you're like, holy shit, we're made of stardust. This is all happening right now and totally absolutely wild and unbelievable, right? So I don't know, maybe that was keeping me up a little bit at night. Turning 30 and actually feeling for the first time that I was like an older person. I don't know, you like reach that maturity level, that different piece of it. And then I was like, man, I want to like do things that are not just going to make me feel good, because they have to be hard too, but that are like worth something, actually worth something, and be around for my daughter. So I decided to take like the ego completely out of it, and I went and got back in jujitsu, which was a love of my life. I've always like kind of been admired grapplers because of their toughness and how hard they work and all that different stuff. So I joined that, and then I signed up with you because I believe like anything you want to improve on in your life, you should have a coach. And I think it's like the key, and you and I talked a little bit about this, but I think this is the most important part of like championship mentality, or how like champions truly do stuff, is it's not if you get off on a tangent, right? Every single person on the planet gets off on a tangent. You're just a human being. We'll all do some stupid shit during Thanksgiving, eating food or drinking beer that we probably don't want to or supposed to, but it's in camaraderie with these people that you love. And that's important, because you want to not have those night terrors at night because you didn't do those things too, So, but the key is how quickly can you get from the tangent back to the center line? And that's what champions do. Right. So anytime I face adversity, I'll usually feel sorry for myself for a little bit, but I do a couple things. I don't believe in complaining because like as Epictetus says, and I'm a big Stoic believer, who in the world would care anyways? Like it just don't waste any time doing that. And then I spent a lot of time with Carlos Ferraz, who's my jujitsu instructor, who's one of the toughest people in the world, but he doesn't talk trash. He's so humble. He's so kind. And I think when you meet people that like really go after it in whatever avenue it is in their life, you want to go and be around those people more. And you start, kind of following some of their mannerisms that really serve them. For him, he's a genuine tough guy. He doesn't have to talk tough or act tough or any of that stuff. He just works really, really hard. And then it shows for everybody around him,
Yeah, there's some good stuff that you just said in there that I want to kind of go back and unpack. First of all, like when you have kids, being a little bit more of an empath, I 100% agree. And I think that it forces you to be a bit more introspective, because like up until that point, you're just like, yeah, I'm doing my thing. If I'm screwing up, like I'm screwing myself up, nobody else.
It
And
hurts
now you're
me.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're like, how is this third party, this impressionable little person that I am responsible for, going to view my actions? I can't just end up like wasted on the toilet, like puking my guts out like that. Like that can't happen. Like that would be like mind-bending experience, So like, how do we get better? And so when you said like, I'm like, not only are you having like existential night terrors, but you're like, I'm out of shape. I'm fat. I don't feel good. I'm not the person I want to be right now. I think both those things can go hand in hand. And for me, it was never like the night terrors, but it was waking up and just being like, well, I'm up thinking about all these things that I'm worried about. So whether it's like the supply chain crisis, the economy, like the promises that I've been saying out loud, but not keeping to myself, like that's the shit that just kept playing in my brain. So I love what you said about that. And I also love your philosophy about complaining. I'm a big believer in don't complain about anything ever. Nobody wants to hear it. It doesn't matter. So dude, I love your mindset around this stuff, and like the idea of like going out and getting a coach and hiring someone who's excelling in an area that you want to be better at. And then like looking at someone like Carlos, your jiu-jitsu instructor, and being like, that dude is like, he's the real deal. He's the truth. And he's also so humble. And you see a couple of people like that, because I think like, on social media, everything's braggadocious. Look at me, look at this car, look at my muscles. And then you meet someone who's like the real deal, like actually living it. And you're like, oh, you don't have to say it. You don't have to brag. You're not flexing in front of your car, and I'm guilty of that too. So yeah, a lot of good stuff, a lot of good thoughts there.
I'll say one of the most powerful experiences I had with him early on was probably not in the best shape I wanted to be. And a guy that was in great shape at the gym was like kind of giving me the vinegar a little bit about it, and talking a little bit of trash. And if anybody knows me, anybody watching this podcast now, they'll all laugh out loud, because I am known, even especially from my college days, as being like one of the world's best trash talkers. That's just like one of my things, right? Like I've always been able to do that and kind of get people off their game or whatever. I love it. I truly enjoy it. But I'll say this. I kind of had that spat, and I talked a little trash back to the guy, and then I think I probably didn't act appropriate and like walked off the mat or something like that. Like, and Carlos, didn't necessarily get on to me, but he walked over to me a little while over, and he was like, if people want to talk, let them talk. Like it's just that stoic philosophy that nothing has to affect you unless you let it. Like, because we all have terrible shit happen to us in life, or even if it's trash talk or somebody baiting you or something, you just don't have to let it bother you. You can be unbothered. You can choose that route too. It's powerful.
It's powerful. And it also costs you less, because it costs us like emotional energy, physical energy to care about what other people think of you. There's this quote that I really like. It says that what other people's opinions of you is none of your business. And like, I thought that was like, that gave me the permission to be like, okay, well, like, it doesn't matter what this person thinks. If I go post like a really weird video on social media, just because I like it, it makes me laugh. Like, and some people are offended by it. Like, oh, well, like that's not on me. That's not about me. It's about them. And I think that's huge to realize. So Joe, tell us a little bit about like where did you start at? Like in terms of your weight, you were starting around like what, a 230 mark?
Man, honestly, that was after a couple of months of jujitsu. I probably started the full-on journey at 245, somewhere around there.
Where are you sitting right now?
I am at 208 today. So, but I would also say too that my body, like physically, muscular, that sinewy development long term has been a big piece. So I think that's one thing too, is I'm also a lot thicker and stronger than I was at that time period. So started out at like 245 ish, and then it was like a full 6 months, but I would say with you intensely, probably about 3 months. And the first thing was just the diet piece of it. Right. That was the first easiest thing to pump in, was like, okay, I'm going to do the protein shake in the morning, my light greens and my lean protein at lunch. And then even if I need to pop another protein shake before I go to jujitsu, as long as I'm hitting enough water, I can hit my potatoes at night and then my protein, and you'll lose 2 pounds a week. Like, I don't care who you are. You're fibbing because you're not doing it. If you're not, I don't care. So I think that's one thing, is just getting the consistency of that. And also, it won't kill you if you have a Pop-Tart or some stupid shit. But like we said, how quickly can you get back to the center line? Right.
Yeah. And I want to get into that, how quickly can you bounce back? Cause I think that is like a critical piece that elevates you, that makes you elite mentally. Whereas I think a lot of people, we just stay stuck in the rut where it's like, oh, I fell off. And then it's a month, 2 months, 3 months, and it's diet starts Monday, diet starts in January. So that bounce back's super important. But isn't it cool though? Like when you drop 40 pounds and people are like, are you bigger? Did you gain some size?
Well, and the thing is too, all of it, the only conduit that all this stuff really works through is accountability. I mean, we can talk all about it all we want to, but I'll say too, some of the powerful stuff you do is you're very mindful with your marketing and how you post stuff. I was thinking about, man, I'm excited about all the shit I was going to eat. And then you posted the Thanksgiving deal. And I was like, fuck, like if I want to, I've got to maintain consistency, and not just that when everybody else. And I saw this, I thought this was super powerful. It was a Kobe Bryant thing. And he was like, man, I started like realizing that if I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I would work, and then I would work to 6 and I would rest, and I'd get up at 9 and I'd work and I'd rest and I'd get up. And he ends up like working 4 more hours than everybody every single day. And he's like, well, maybe one summer that isn't an advantage, right? But over the course of 5, 6, 7 years, it eventually becomes a distance that other people can't make up. And that shit got me excited. Like, that's the type of shit that gives me a little bit of edge, that I'm like, all right, because nobody wants to get up and work out in the morning, dude. I fight that shit every morning. Your workouts are hard. But it's worth it, because you got to take the ego out, right? And put it to your little girl or your little boy, or being around for that. So that's how you lose the weight. I don't know. That's the magic trick.
I love it. I love that idea of because everyone talks about consistency, right? Like I say all the time is you can't lose if you don't quit. But I love the idea of setting yourself like at an advantage, because like for a long time, I feel like I was playing from behind. I was never like as physically gifted, maybe as mentally as gifted as certain people are. Like, I don't think I'm as gifted like in business as a lot of people are, but I know that I'm showing up every single day. eventually everyone else is going to fizzle out. Everyone else is going to fall off. And I'm going to keep moving forward. And I know that I'll win, because even if I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, even if I'm not like, I had a doctor literally tell me that I was a exercise non-responder, which is the horrible thing to tell a 13-year-old boy. So like, but I knew that if I just didn't stop, I'd eventually get to the point. So even if it took me 3 times as long, 5 times as long, I was still going to get there. And I think that's like having that mindset of like, okay, yeah, like maybe it's not going to pay off this month or next month, but in 2023, 2025, 2030, like when my kids are 10, 15, 18, like I'm like, you just watch, because I'm getting better every single day.
Yeah.
So that's like, dude, that's incredible. Tell me a little bit about your like mentality, because we've had a couple of days where you've been traveling, you've gone out to visit your mom, you've done some other stuff where you've fallen off, right? You haven't been able to eat like on plan. You haven't been able to hit the workouts. What's your philosophy or tactics on that bounce back? How do you stay consistent?
Yeah, I love a hard fried seafood platter. Probably just about anybody, more than anybody in the world. I'm from South Alabama. It is the seafood capital. It used to be of the world, but now just Alabama. But I'll say this. I love it. Right, that's like my favorite thing in the entire world. So when we do go down home or something like that, you're gonna if you do your entire life this rigid deal, you're gonna feel like you're left out at the very end. Like I went to a bunch of mentors and I was like, what do you wish that you would have done differently? And they were like, well, I would have lived more true to myself. I wouldn't have regretted so much. And I would have been more consistent in the times it was really time for me to kick ass. Like, well, that's simple enough, right? So one thing I do, I think that's really, really sneaky and unique is, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm in the grocery store, when I'm hungry, I'll get some bullshit and I'll say like, oh, this is for my daughter or something like that. But I know I'm going to have some of it. So every week, like come Monday, I throw out the bullshit. And I know there's a lot of people that are like, that's so wasteful and terrible and horrible. And it is. I'm sorry. You're right. But it goes in the trash can. Fuck it. Because I just don't have any tolerance for it. And if I can do that 6 days out of the week, or or 5 days out of the week and fast one day, if we look up in a year, I'll be a monster. And I want to win. Like I want to have success doing jujitsu.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like that's like where it stops for you either. You want to win in your relationship. You want to win as a parent. You want to win in your career. Like you just have a winning mindset and you're willing to pay the price. I think that's one of the big things, is that you said, here's what I want. I said, here's what it costs. And you go, okay, I'll put in those early mornings. I'll put in that meal prep. I'll put in the throwing away the food that looks good. That's expensive, right? That costs you something.
Well, I think too, I thought growing up as a kid, that the most important thing, or that I wanted to be in life, was successful. And, it's an amazing change when you realize that the most important thing is that you want to be happy. And if you're happy, you will be successful. We spend so much of our life just being fucking like miserable or ready for the next stage or whatever. This is our life. It's it. Like you just have to, even in the worst circumstance, choose to be happy. So.
Yeah. And I think that that kind of starts with going back to what you were talking about earlier, is choosing hard things, choosing to challenge yourself. Because I feel like if you can wake up in the morning and go to the gym, and like, to be honest, like that's a huge blessing to be able to do that, right? You got arms and legs that work. That's fantastic. You have gym access, you got running water. You don't have to you don't have to get up on and go walk out and walk 5 miles to get water for your family. You can just go to the gym. So that's a blessing in itself, but it's also hard, right? It's hard. No one likes to do that. But if you can do that and you can be grateful and you can enjoy the process, how much more successful are you going to be? How much more longevity are you going to have in that than if you wake up every day and you go like, man, this shit sucks. This is hard. I hate it. I hate this here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my dad had a stroke when I was probably, 12, 10, 11, didn't really live right. I didn't have a great relationship with him, weren't, in that type of deal. But I always thought, I wanted mine to go a lot differently. Like I wanted my story to go a lot different than his. So I think that motivates people and gives you strong influences.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge motivator to be like, I want to be the man that I needed when I was younger. I think that that just puts, that's so much more of a powerful motivator than being like, oh, I want to lose 5 pounds. I want to look good. I want to get in shape for a 5K, you know? It's like, I know what I
think
needed. I didn't get it. And here's how I'm going to provide that for the people that are depending on me.
having those little goals are like bomb, and they're not little goals, right? Because they're usually quarterly or something like that. And that takes a lot of devotion and effort. But like, I think you have those, and then you have your experiences in life that were maybe absolute failures or some shit that really didn't go your way or somebody didn't treat you right. And you keep that as like something on the skyline or the horizon. And that can affect you in that positive way too, if you let it.
Totally. Yeah. I think that like, that's like having that, like you said, on the horizon keeps your eyes focused ahead, right? Because if you only have the short-term goals, like as soon as you hit 10 pounds, oh, you wanted to drop 10 pounds, you wanted to get to this whatever weight, and you do it, then what's next? I had a client one time when I was first starting off training. They go, when do I get to eat normally again? When I get down to my weight? And I was like, I didn't know how to answer it. I was like, that's a good question. When do you get to eat normally again? And I had to think about it. And I was like, that's the wrong question. Like, that's not going to lead you to a lifestyle of success. Like, it has to be something where we can sustain these new healthy habits. Cause like, if I put you on like every other day fasting and then broccoli and tilapia, you'd get down below 200. You'd be shredded. You'd have no energy, no sex drive, no enthusiasm for life. And then you would fucking hate me at the end of it, but you get the results, right? So it is more than results, right? Your results aren't the full story. Even though you've got some great results and you're still on that path, it's not the full story. And I think that like the mentality, that unshakable, like unbeatable mindset you're talking about, and how you bounce back from hiccups or like off plan times, that tells more of the full story of who you are and how successful you're going to be.
My best friend texted me today because he was going through some stuff, and he sent me a text that said, we're going to have success because that's what hard men like us do. When other men break, that's like what he's sent it, like he's like, that's what gets us off, is like going a little bit further when other dudes are breaking. And I dig it. I'm with it. And I think too, if you push people around you in that circle of accountability or whatever, iron does sharpen iron. There's absolutely no doubt about it. So
yeah, like if you want to be a fit person, you put yourself in a circle of 5 other really fit people, you're gonna be the 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to be mentally hard, put yourself in circle of people who are mentally hard. And then you're going to pick up those habits. Like you were talking about with Carlos, you see what successful people are doing and you start to kind of glean those important things. Bruce Lee has a great quote. It says like, take what is useful, reject what is useless, and add was essentially your own, and I think that is like such a powerful thing that kind of relates to mentors and coaching and being a lifelong learner, like you were talking about earlier as well. Who else has been like a good mentor or coach in your life? Who's been someone who has like had a big impact on you?
You got some time? My phone battery's going to die before no. I would tell you, if I had to give you like I don't know, probably like top 3 or 4. No, number 1 for me was Fred Hefner. If you don't know him, you should know him. He's not just a good human. He's one of the best humans. He helped integrate the Southern Baptist Church, like early on, like back in the day. He's so old that he's still alive. It's a joke ongoing by everybody. But I went out and he actually gave me the ability to teach an experiential trip to New Mexico for like 5+ years as a graduate assistant and then undergrad and doing some stuff like that. And I always just absolutely appreciated and loved the humility that he brought to the table. But not just that, I realized that he transitioned from like being in the church and working for the Sunday school board and all that different stuff, and just decided he wanted to teach, and that he did his best ministry by just actually teaching and keeping an open mind and listening to people and being kind. And so like it was a big thing for me early on that I realized that if I was going to do something, I always kind of wanted it to just actually be a guise for my ministry, like whatever that was. Right. I don't think I'm not I know that a lot of people that aren't big Bible people or whatever that looks like, but I do think that a lot of people like stand around and they wait for miracles and stuff like that. And I always thought that somebody like Fred was a person that kind of was the miracles. Like he'd just be the hands and feet or whatever, you know? So that was a big one for me. Carlos is of course one, because he pushes me to like different places that I didn't think I could go, like physically, mentally, in my heart. And maintains an ability to keep you humble through all of that, and maintaining that he's humble as a world champion. That's like unbelievable. I'd say Kevin and Fred too. You know, those guys. I mean, I think I did okay. I was a rookie of the year and some of that different stuff in real estate, but they helped me through accountability take my life to the next level and continue to do so. So if you don't know those guys too, they're amazing.
Dude, awesome. And I like what you said about like, I mean, earlier kind of translates to this, like how you do one thing is how you do everything, or how, like, wherever you go, there you are. So when you're talking about like, you know, not necessarily having to be like in the church to be living those principles out, to being kind and like showing up big time for people. And like, it's like, you know, when you look back on someone like Fred, you're like, dude, that guy was just like the kindest. He just always showing up. He was always present. He was always like someone you could rely on. And like, you look at, you're like, man, that's how I want to be too. So
100%.
Yeah, good call. Interesting though, when we're talking about like fitness and stuff like that, one thing that you haven't talked about is like exercise or protein shakes. You know, like you haven't really talked to us a lot about tactics. You've been focused a lot on the mindset piece of things. So I'm curious, what advice would you give for someone who's like kind of where you were like a while back? 245, feeling like I'm not where I want to be, not sure what the next move is. Like, what would you tell that person?
The mindset is everything. No, I'm giving you a hard time. I would tell you that a couple of key things that really, really work. Number one, you need to do the weighted vest walks, like with your baby, right? Or if you push the carriage, that's even better. If not, do it on the incline treadmill. Do that every single day. Because I saw a guy the other day was like, what do you want to do if you want to like boost your results crazy time? And I was like, well, you have to be consistent for the next 2 years. But like, if not, you probably should just wake up every day and do that to start it off. Right. That's number one. What else? Always start with the protein shake in the morning. I'm not going to make a bad decision if I have to make a decision. I'm going to choose to forego a decision before I make a bad decision. Like, I'm not going to go into the gas station and get some bullshit. I'm just not going to do it. Like, because I'm working too hard for this to go back, you know? Totally. Like, at least that's the way I look at it. So anytime at this point, when I'm in train mode or something and I do some shit I like wasn't really happy with, I don't know, I try to replace that with a good decision too, you know, or I next day up in it. I think too, I also would say 20 minutes in the sauna every day. I do think that that's made a tremendous difference for me from a recovery standpoint. What else would I tell you? I would tell you 2 scoops in the morning, 2 scoops at night usually helps, right?
Okay. So this is a little bit more tactical information. Yeah. What would you give that person though? Kind of like you said, mindset is everything, right? It comes down to it because like you got to make that decision first. So like if someone's on the fence and like they don't really know what direction they want to go, is it even worth it? Like, what would you tell someone in that situation?
Just don't fucking quit. Like, and here's how it works. Everybody knows how the fucking train works, right? Like, it gets going. It has to get going. But in order to get going, you have to get a little bit of momentum. And what you need is, I had a coach one time, John Cheplack, and he said, you need a micro commitment and then a micro win, right? You just need to get one little W, whatever that looks like. So every week I make 3 commitments to some of the people that are closest to me that'll call me on my shit. Right. And they're like measurable. They have to be measurable commitments. Right. And then at the end of the week, that person or whoever the group is, they ask me, did you hit your commitments? What got in the way? Do you want to recommit? Right. Like, so I think that in that power in itself, if you're a person that lives in integrity or wants to live in integrity, say what you want to do, put it out, make it accountable, and then have people that you love around you hold you to accountability. Here's what people don't like is the rub when they don't do what they say they're going to do.
Doesn't feel good, right?
You know,
keeps you up at night.
Right. That's the rub that's why most people won't even try to be accountable in the first place. So I think if you're there and you're standing on that precipice of like, what do I do next? You go find somebody that you love and trust and have a deep enough relationship with that can hold you the fuck accountable. And then you make a micro commitment, and then you get a win, and then you start getting more wins until the momentum and the train gets going crazy and nobody can stop it.
And I like that you even gave us like the wins that you can have. The walk in the morning with the weight vest, easy win, easy to get it, and builds up momentum. Having the shake in the morning first thing eliminates decision fatigue. You don't have to decide between eggs and cereal and oatmeal and bananas. You just have the shake. That's what's for breakfast. Like this shirt. What am I wearing today? A black shirt. Because that's like, I've got 15 black shirts that are all the exact same. I don't have to think about it. So you get that easy win. You build that momentum, and then suddenly, like, you're just a train, you're barreling through a brick wall, you're unstoppable. Before, if you stop, you throw a little door stopper in front of a train, you can't get past it.
Well, and dude, too, if I think one thing that was really, really paramount is that when I started, I made the decision, and I think I was like anybody, I was like, all right, well, let's see how this is going to go. But what I also did was I printed out the $1 Million Body method, and I did the checklist every day, the pencil checklist. Every single day for the first 4 weeks, right? Every single day, the checklist. And if you do that, you're going to find yourself significantly further than where you were a month ago. You like look up, you're like, because a month goes by fast as shit if you're just doing what you're supposed to do, right? So
you're saying that having some sort of visible like idea of what you're supposed to be doing, of the integral tasks to the commitment you've made, and having the accountability, you're saying that's what gets you to your goals?
How do people fucking remember to take vitamins and shit at night? Like, I don't remember that shit. I can't remember anything. You telling me to remember to take my lithium at night? Good luck. But if I have a checklist, I'll do it.
I like the checklist. Easier. It's a reminder. I also like a habit stacking. So if you always brush your teeth, put the vitamins in your teeth brushing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like you have to get those little wins. Like for me, like I needed to wake up earlier in the morning. I don't miss workouts. I have that habit. It exists for me. And I know that if I give myself, hey, it's only going to happen at 6 a.m., then that's what's going to happen. And that's like, so I just tie those two things together with something you already do on a regular basis. So yeah, great advice there. Joe, I really appreciate just like you come and dropping some wisdom, sharing a bit about your experience, but anything you want to leave us with before we go today?
Man, I would say that just time and time again, I'm reminded, and one book I've been doing is The Daily Stoic. I really, really love it. I think I'm going to recommit to doing that again this next year because it was valuable for me. And Marcus Aurelius was a king or an emperor, right? Didn't really want to be. And Epictetus was a slave. But they both had the same viewpoint that no matter what happens to you, regardless of how terrible or whatever it may be, that it can morally make you better if you let it. So
that's good stuff.
I hope that helps.
Definitely. And there's also apps for that. I feel like there's an app called The Daily Stoic as well.
There is. You know, I've tried to push that on you too. You know, I push my beliefs on people. I'm sorry. If you hang around with me enough, I have you believe you can do anything though.
You know what? I've been pushing my beliefs on you for months now. So I'm not, so it's tit for tat, no problem.
I appreciate it.
And Joe, you say you're a real estate in Phoenix, Arizona. Where can people get in touch with you, follow you on social medias if they want to?
Yeah. So I'm blessed to be with Group 4610 Network with EXP Realty here in the Valley. I've been with Kevin and Fred and those guys for 5+ years now. My wife and I do a bunch of homes in the Valley every single year. I don't think anybody gives a shit about how great we are, so you can Google all that stuff if you want to. I think it only really matters the outcome we bring your family, and I don't think there's a lot of people that are going to care a lot more than us. So I hope that's the best advertisement I can give. Instagram is Oubre is your realtor. And then you can look me up on Facebook. I'll be your friend. Yeah. And if you need anything or there's anywhere I can support you, don't hesitate to reach out. And that's not like some bullshit line that I give people. Like legitimately, I'll show up in your life. So
I feel like you should change your Instagram handle to Oubre is your friend.
That's fair.
I'll be your friend. I like that. Brother, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you. Until next time, stay hard.
Hey, thank you, dude. I appreciate you.